Hi and welcome to Oceania Weekly. I'm Stephanie Greenfield. There was a climate change forum in the Roskill Youth Zone in Mount Roskill, Auckland last Saturday. The forum was emceed by actor Madeleine Sammy and featured climate experts, youth, community and Pacifica leaders. Olivia Yates from Generation Zero said that the Roskill Climate Restart is a collaboration between different people and groups who care passionately about climate change and the need for urgent action. There was a hearing from a range of panellists about both the facts of climate change and actions we need to take at the community and national level to make the change we need. Johnson from Ngā Rangatahi Whakaaio said that we want people to leave the forum better informed and ready to push for action. Before the forum, people were invited to join the Roskill Climate Ride along the beautifully restored Oakley Creek near to the venue.
However, what's happened in the last 200 years is we've basically warmed up the temperature at an extraordinarily rapid rate. And so we're doing something that is not natural. And if you think about it, what we're doing is we're taking everything that ever lived, right? Every tree, every dinosaur, every animal that ever lived, which has died and compressed into coal and into oil, and we're taking that and we're putting that into the atmosphere. And so that is changing the chemical composition of the atmosphere in ways that has never happened in the Earth's history before.
Brazil's president has ordered the armed forces to fight record forest fires in the Amazon amid international outrage over rising deforestation. President Bolsonaro deployed soldiers in nature reserves, indigenous lands and border areas beset by fires. The move is an apparent reversal from Bolsonaro, who has been accused of emboldening miners and loggers. Other countries have threatened to target Brazil's economy if it did not act to stop the fires. France and Ireland said they would not ratify a large deal with South American nations, and Finland's finance minister had called on the EU to consider banning Brazilian beef imports. Regular non-stop flights between the east coast of Australia and London or New York could soon become a reality. In preparation, Australian airline Qantas has announced 3 test flights with 40 people travelling directly from London or New York to Sydney. These tests are to see how the human body copes with 19 solid hours of air travel. Qantas previously announced its goal of operating direct flights between London, New York and 3 Australian cities, Sydney, Brisbane and Melbourne, by 2023. The test flights scheduled for October, November and December will move the airline closer to that target. It will enable Qantas to test the health and well-being impacts on passengers and crew. Researchers from Sydney University's Charles Perkins Centre, Monash University and the Alertness Safety and Productivity Cooperative Research Centre will examine the impact of the long flight of those on board. The rail link between Auckland and Hamilton has made progress, with the government announcing NZTA approved funding for its construction. Transport Minister Phil Twyford said the funding included construction and operation of $92 million, with $80 million of that originating from NZTA, the rest from local authorities. Twyford also said that an important part of our transport policy is giving people options so they don't always have to take their car, freeing up the roads for those who have to drive. The service will initially start with a 4-carriage train which can carry 150 passengers, with 2 morning peak trains and 2 return afternoon peak trains. The Philippines is the latest country to create its own space agency. President Rodrigo Duterte has authorised the creation of the Philippine Space Agency, following in the footsteps of Turkey and Australia, who have set up space agencies in the past 18 months. The agency, signed into law on the 8th of August, will coordinate all the government's space-related activities and policy, which are currently spread across multiple agencies. Its goals include national security, hazard management, and climate change mitigation, as well as research and development in technologies such as satellites, growing the country's private space industry, and international collaborations. Christchurch has been named the 7th most friendly city in the world. The The 50 Friendliest Cities list was created by Big 7 Travel, the same site that bestowed on New Zealand the honour of having the sexiest accent in the world. Christchurch was the only New Zealand city to make the current list. Canada's Vancouver topped the list, followed by Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia and Bruges in Belgium. Scientists have made a concerning discovery after attaching cameras to yellow-eyed penguins. An Otago University researcher, Thomas Matten, said what the birds are eating is changing and that it is heightening fears that these rare birds will face extinction this century. Matten says yellow-eyed penguins traditionally foraged on the seafloor for things like blue cod and opal fish. But the cameras reveal the birds are changing their eating habits. Matten says the diet has changed in yellow-eyed penguins, possibly as a consequence of alterations of the marine habitat from fishing, as well as ocean warming and climate change. Matten says the future looks bleak for the yellow-eyed penguin. They're expected to face extinction this century. Immigrants have faced long waits for visas since the end of last year. INZ Acting General Manager of Visa Services, Mr. Ross, said the restructure was necessary, but it did not go smoothly. He told a conference of immigration advisors and lawyers that the agency tried to rectify the situation once it realised the visa system was not coping with the extra numbers, but not quickly enough. Staff were recruited and changes made to 2 sites earmarked for closure, including Henderson in Auckland, which is now expanding. Immigration Minister Ian Lees-Galloway earlier told the New Zealand Association for Migration and Investment conference in Auckland it would be unlikely the stand-down period for lower skilled immigrants would be moved under the new work visa proposals. A plan for a green corridor cutting through Christchurch's red zone all the way to the coast has been given the green light. The plan supports the regeneration of the Otakaro Avon River corridor, which housed more than 5,000 residents before the devastating 2010 and 2011 earthquakes. The residential red zone has been uninhabitable since the earthquakes, and nature has slowly taken over the vast open space, with weeds growing through the roads and the addition of plenty of bird life. The Avon Otakaro network has advocated for a vision for the red zone for 8 years. Its spokesperson Evan Smith said the announcement was a milestone moment in Christchurch's rebuild. Washington expressed strong concern and disappointment after the Korean government announced that it is scrapping the General Security of Military Information Agreement with Japan. It also showed its displeasure with Chong Hwa-dae's remark that the US had expressed its understanding of South Korea's decision to end the military intelligence sharing pact with Japan, saying it is not true. It was unusual for the Trump administration to directly refute Chong Hwa-dae's statement, calling it the Moon Jae-in administration instead of South Korea. Seoul's decision to withdraw from the General Security of Military Information Agreement is negatively affecting the ROK-US alliance, with Washington expressing strong dissatisfaction with the decision. Director Bong Joon-ho's movie Parasite will compete for an Oscar nomination for the Best Foreign Film at Hollywood's biggest awards ceremony. The Korean Film Council said that it picked Parasite out of 8 candidates as Korea's submission for the Best International Feature Film category at the Academy Awards in February next year. The council said that after due consideration and discussion, the film was selected given its global recognition, Bong's strong reputation worldwide, and its artistic and technical quality. Bong's 7th film, Parasite, won the prestigious Palme d'Or at this year's Cannes Film Festival in May, and the top prize at other international film festivals. It drew over 10 million moviegoers in Korea. It revolves around 2 families whose lives become intertwined when the son from a poor family scams his way into a tutoring job with a wealthy one. Now we're going to cross over to Voice of America.
Foreign students are looking at other countries to pursue their education because of the extremely high costs for attending American universities, according to studies.
It is no secret that compared to other nations, the cost of higher education in the U.S. is significantly higher.
But high tuition is not the only factor. A study by the Institute for International Education points to perceived crime in the U.S. and divisive political rhetoric aimed at immigrants.
Actually, this has become my prime concern as my background is I'm an Indonesian, an Asian, and a Muslim. Also, my appearance is different, so people can tell that I'm from outside America. It will be a challenging situation for me to adapt in the States, even though at first I thought it wasn't a problem, as I felt that America was open-minded.
Other countries, such as Canada, are seen by some as more welcoming. It has looked to attract students from China, India, Philippines, Vietnam, and Pakistan by granting visas that take only 3 weeks to process.
We have found that, based on our statistics, that these are the countries that are most interested in sending students to Canada.
And while having fewer international students than the U.S., those in Canada find their immigration pathways are paying off.
After my undergrad degree, I got a 3-year open work permit, which is also called the postgrad work permit, and I applied for jobs. I got recruited in an accounting firm, and there I worked 1 year full-time, and which made me eligible to apply for permanent residence.
New Zealand, with 130,000 international students, is also beefing up its recruitment strategy.
The vast majority, about 50%, come from China and from India, but we also have obviously a big interest in finding students, the right students from South America, North America and Europe, as well as the Middle East, Southeast Asia.
Despite this competition, some experts believe the U.S. can once again become the top choice for international students.
One of the fantastic things about the global higher education landscape is that any country can become a leading destination depending on the right factors. So the United States, for example, could become a leading destination once again and dominate for quite a while.
Chase adds that measures by universities such as making international students feel more welcome through English language classes, networking, and student organizations would help attract more foreign students. For Sahar Majid, Jim Burtell, VOA News.
Thank you for joining us here at Oceania Weekly. I'll see you next week.